The stars had always watched humanity. Now, something else watched too. In the year 2347, Earth was a quiet planet at the edge of known space. The Galactic Concord, a union of 12 alien civilizations, had discovered humans 300 years ago. They had studied them, measured them, and decided they were not important. Humans had small ships. Humans had weak weapons. Humans were good for trade and labor. Nothing more. This was exactly what humanity wanted them to believe. Captain Honduri stood on the bridge of the patrol ship, Morning Star, watching the endless darkness of space through the main window. His ship was old. The paint was fading. The engines made strange noises. To any alien observer, it looked like exactly what Earth could afford, a tired vessel held together by hope and repair tape. Honduri smiled to himself. He was very good at playing the role of a poor captain from a poor planet. His communication officer, Lieutenant Beeksomi, turned from her station with worry in her eyes. She was young, only 26 years old. But she had been chosen for this position because she was smart and she could keep secrets. "Captain," she said quietly, "I am picking up a transmission from the Valari Empire. It is being sent to all planets in the sector." Honduri's smile faded. The Valari were the most dangerous species in the Galactic Concord. They were tall, gray-skinned beings with 4 arms and cold black eyes. They believed that power was the only thing that mattered. They had conquered 11 planets in the last 50 years. They looked at other species the way a wolf looks at sheep. "Put it on the main speaker," Honduri ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was deep and full of arrogance. It spoke in the common galactic language that all species use for communication. "This message is for the leaders of the planet called Earth. The Valari Empire has decided that your solar system will become part of our territory. You have 30 days to prepare for integration. Your ships will be taken. Your resources will be managed by Valari governors. Your people will serve the Empire. This is not a request. This is your future. Resistance will be punished with extinction." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Lieutenant Beeksomi looked at her captain. She knew the truth about Earth. She knew what was hidden in the darkness of the outer solar system. But even with that knowledge, her heart was beating fast. "Captain, what do we do?" she asked. Honduri looked at his crew. There were 15 people on the bridge, and all of them knew the secret. All of them had been waiting for this day. "We do nothing yet," he said calmly. "We play our part. We act scared. We beg for mercy. And we wait." Far from Earth, past Mars, past Jupiter, past Saturn, in the frozen darkness near Neptune's moon Triton, Admiral Park Taiho received the same transmission. He was an old man now, 73 years old, with gray hair and deep lines on his face. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. He sat in a command center carved deep into the ice of Triton. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations. Screens showed maps of the solar system, but not the maps that aliens knew. These maps showed the truth. "Admiral," one of his officers said, "the Valari have made their move." Park Taiho nodded slowly. "I have waited 40 years for this. My father waited before me. His mother waited before him. 300 years of patience." He stood up from his chair and looked at the main screen. "Send the signal to all hidden stations. Tell them, prepare for emergence." The message traveled at the speed of light to hundreds of secret locations. It reached asteroid bases that looked like dead rocks from the outside, but held shipyards inside. It reached the moons of Jupiter, where factories had been building weapons for 2 centuries. It reached the ice fields of Pluto, where the largest battleships in human history waited in frozen silence. On a research station hidden in the Kuiper Belt, Dr. Yoon Hannah received the message. She was 45 years old, with tired eyes and steady hands. She had spent 20 years working on humanity's greatest secret, the Shadow Gate. The Shadow Gate was a ring of metal and energy, 500 kilometers wide, floating in the darkness at the edge of the solar system. It was invisible to any sense the aliens had. It was impossible according to everything the Galactic Concord knew about physics. And it was almost ready. Dr. Yoon Hana read the message from Admiral Park Tae-ho and took a deep breath. How long until the gate is fully operational? Her assistant asked. 70 hours, she replied. We will be ready in time. Back on Earth, the planet's visible leaders did exactly what the Valari expected. They sent messages begging for more time. They offered to pay tribute. They acted like frightened children facing a giant. The Valari laughed at them. Earth was pathetic, they said. Earth was weak. Earth would fall without a single shot being fired. In the shadows of Triton, Admiral Park Tae-ho watched recordings of these conversations and felt a cold satisfaction in his heart. The aliens saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see. They think we are sheep, he said to his officers. They have always thought we are sheep. For 300 years, we have let them believe this. He walked to the main window of the command center and looked out at the ice and stars. But sheep do not build 4,000 warships in secret. Sheep do not create weapons that can crack moons. Sheep do not open doors to other stars. He turned back to his officers. We are not sheep. We have never been sheep. And in 72 hours, the galaxy will learn what humanity truly is. The countdown had begun. The Shadow Gate waited in the darkness. And across the solar system, humanity prepared to show its true face to a universe that had underestimated them for far too long. 300 years ago, humanity made a choice that would change everything. When the first alien ships appeared in Earth's sky in the year 2047, the world watched with wonder and fear. The Galactic Concord sent diplomats who smiled with too many teeth and spoke of friendship and cooperation. But behind their kind words, their eyes measured and calculated. They looked at human cities and saw resources. They looked at human people and saw workers. They looked at human weapons and laughed. Earth leaders were not fools. They saw what the aliens truly wanted. They saw how other minor species were treated in the Galactic Concord, given just enough freedom to be useful, never enough to be dangerous. Some human leaders wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender. But a small group of wise men and women chose a third path. They chose to hide. Admiral Park Tae-ho's grandmother was one of those people. Her name was Park Masoon, and she was a scientist who understood that the greatest weapon was not a gun or a bomb. The greatest weapon was patience. Let them think we are weak, she said in those early meetings. Let them think we are primitive. And while they watch our visible world, we will build our true strength in the shadows. The plan was simple, but required incredible discipline. Earth would show the aliens exactly what they expected to see: a struggling planet with limited technology, barely able to defend itself. Meanwhile, in secret, humanity would expand into the outer solar system. They would build ships. They would create weapons. They would prepare for the day when the mask would fall. Dr. Yoon Hana thought about this history as she worked on the Shadow Gate. Her grandmother had worked with Park Masoon. Her mother had continued the work. Now she would finish it. 3 generations, she said quietly to herself. 3 generations of secrets. The Shadow Gate floated before her, visible through the window of her research station. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, a ring of dark metal and glowing energy, large enough for 1,000 ships to pass through at once. It was a door to the stars, a technology that the Galactic Concord believed was impossible. Her assistant, a young man named Cho Minho, brought her a cup of tea. Doctor, I've run the final calculations. The gate will be stable enough for full activation in 68 hours. Yoon Hannah nodded and took the tea. Her hands were shaking slightly, not from fear, but from excitement. My grandmother died believing she would never see this day. My mother died the same way, but I will see it. I will see humanity step through that gate and show the universe what we truly are. Far away, near the orbit of Pluto, Commander Shin Ji-woo ran her squadron through one final drill. She was 38 years old, tall and strong, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She commanded the 7th Stealth Squadron, 200 ships that had never been seen by any alien sensor. Her pilots had trained their entire lives in secret, flying in the darkness at the edge of the solar system, preparing for a war that might never come. Now that war was coming. All ships, report status, she ordered through her communication system. One by one, her captains responded. All ships were ready. All weapons were armed. All crews were prepared to fight. Shin Ji-woo looked at the data on her screen. The Valari were sending 800 warships to Earth. 800 ships to conquer a planet they thought was defenseless. They expected an easy victory. They had no idea that over 4,000 human warships waited in the darkness. On one of the moons of Jupiter, Chief Engineer Oh Dong-soo inspected his greatest creation. He was 60 years old, a quiet man who preferred machines to people. But the machine in front of him was special. It was a weapon called the Sunfire Generator. The weapon worked by creating a tiny sunna ball of plasma so hot that it could melt through any armor, any shield, any defense. It was the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built, and the Galactic Concorde had no idea it existed. "Is it ready?" asked the officer standing beside him. Oh Dong-soo nodded slowly. "Every ship in the fleet has one. When we fire these weapons, the Valari will think the stars themselves have turned against them." Back on Triton, Admiral Park Tae-ho reviewed the reports from all hidden stations. Everything was proceeding as planned. The fleet was ready. The weapons were armed. The Shadowgate was charging. Humanity's 300 years of preparation were about to pay off. He looked at a picture on his desk. It showed 3 generations of his family, his grandmother Park Masoon, his father, and himself as a young boy. They had all dedicated their lives to this moment. "We kept the secret," he whispered to the picture. "We stayed patient. We let them laugh at us and look down on us. And now, finally, it is time." His communication officer approached. "Admiral, the Valari fleet has entered the solar system. They will reach Earth in 70 hours. Park Tae-ho stood up and straightened his uniform. "Tell all stations to begin final preparations. In 70 hours, we stop hiding. In 70 hours, the mask falls. In 70 hours, humanity shows its true face to the galaxy." The officer saluted and left to send the message. Admiral Park Tae-ho walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien commanders were celebrating their easy conquest. They were laughing about the weak humans who would soon serve them. Let them laugh, he thought. Let them laugh while they still can. The countdown continued. The Shadowgate grew brighter in the darkness. And across the solar system, humanity prepared to surprise a universe that had never truly seen them. The Valari fleet moved through space like a dark cloud of death. 800 warships, each one bristling with weapons, each one carrying soldiers eager for conquest. At the center of the fleet flew the flagship Eternal Dominance, commanded by High Admiral Varth, the most decorated military leader in Valari history. He had conquered 11 planets. Earth would be his 12th. Varth stood on his bridge, his forearms clasped behind his back, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screen. His gray skin reflected the glow of distant stars. His black eyes showed no emotion except cold satisfaction. "Report," he ordered. "The humans have 12 defense ships positioned near their planet," his sensor officer replied. "All of them are old models with weak weapons. They pose no threat to our fleet. Vorath made a sound that might have been laughter. 12 ships. We have 800. This will not be a battle. This will be a harvest. Captain Handuri watched the Valari fleet approach from the bridge of the Morning Star. His 12 ships were arranged in a defensive line, exactly where the aliens expected them to be. His crews looked nervous. Some of that nervousness was acting. Some of it was real. Even knowing what was hidden in the outer solar system, facing 800 enemy warships was terrifying. Captain, the Valari are hailing us, Lieutenant Beak Somi reported. Put them through, Handuri said, making his voice sound weak and afraid. The face of High Admiral Vorath appeared on the screen. The alien looked at Handuri the way someone might look at an insect. Human Captain, Vorath said, you have positioned your pitiful ships as if you intend to fight. This is foolish. You cannot win. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will burn your planet until nothing remains. Handuri swallowed hard, a perfect performance of fear. High Admiral, please, we need more time to discuss this with our leaders. Perhaps we can negotiate. There is no negotiation, Vorath interrupted. You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we attack. The transmission ended. Handuri looked at his crew and allowed himself a small smile. 1 hour. That is perfect. On Triton, Admiral Pog Taiho watched the countdown timer. 60 minutes remained until the moment he had waited his entire life to see. Status report from all hidden stations, he ordered. His officers called out the updates. Jupiter Station reports all 300 ships. Ready. Saturn Station confirms 250 ships armed and prepared. Pluto Command reports. The main battle fleet of 1,000 ships is in position. Asteroid bases 1 through 50. Report full readiness. Bartaiho nodded. 4,127 ships, hidden across the solar system, all waiting for his command. And the Shadow Gate? Dr. Yunhana's voice came through the communication system. The gate is at 98% power. It will be ready in 30 minutes. Excellent. Park Taiho turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to all hidden vessels. Voice only. The channel opened, and Park Taiho spoke to the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. My fellow humans, this is Admiral Park Taiho. For 300 years, our families have kept the greatest secret in human history. Your grandparents built the ships you now command. Your parents armed the weapons you now carry. You have trained in darkness, lived in shadows, and waited for a day many thought would never come. He paused, looking at the timer. 45 minutes. That day is here. In less than 1 hour, we will reveal ourselves to a galaxy that has looked down on us, laughed at us, and threatened to enslave us. We will show them that humanity does not bow. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity fights. Across the solar system, in hidden ships and secret stations, humans listened with tears in their eyes and fire in their hearts. When I give the order, you will emerge from your hiding places. You will show the Valari what they truly face. And you will make them understand that threatening Earth was the worst mistake they ever made. Prepare for emergence. Admiral Park Taiho out. The minutes passed like hours. The Valari fleet moved closer to Earth. High Admiral Vorath prepared his attack. Confident of an easy victory. On the Morning Star, Lieutenant Beak Somi watched her secret console, the one that showed the real positions of the human fleet. She saw thousands of green dots waiting in the darkness. She saw the Shadow Gate reaching full power. She saw history about to change. Captain, she whispered, Admiral Park Taiho has given the final warning. 1 minute to emergence. Handuri gripped the arms of his command chair. After decades of playing the role of a weak captain from a weak planet, He was about to become something else entirely. The timer hit 0. Admiral Park Tae-ho spoke one word that echoed across the solar system. Emerge. The universe held its breath. Then, everything changed. Near Jupiter, the surface of a dead asteroid cracked open. Light poured from inside as 300 warships rose from their hiding place. Near Saturn, the ice of Moon shattered as 250 more ships emerged. Near Pluto, the largest fleet of all 1,000 massive battlecruisers appeared from beneath frozen plains where they had waited for generations. Across the solar system, what had appeared to be dead rocks and empty ice revealed themselves to be hiding places for humanity's true military power. On the Volari flagship, alarms screamed. Sensor officers shouted in confusion and fear. "Hi, Admiral. We are detecting new contacts." Many new contacts. Vorath stared at his screen in disbelief. Where moments ago there had been nothing but empty space, now there were ships. Thousands of ships. Human ships with weapons that his sensors could not even identify. "That is impossible," he whispered. "This is impossible." Captain Han Duri's voice suddenly filled the Volari communication channel. But he no longer sounded weak. He no longer sounded afraid. He sounded like a predator who had finally dropped his disguise. "Hi, Admiral Vorath. You came here expecting sheep. You found wolves who learned to wear wool. On behalf of humanity, allow me to formally introduce you to the hidden fleet of Earth. Welcome to your nightmare." The Volari commander stared at his screen as 4,000 human warships moved into attack formation. His confident smile was gone. In its place was something he had not felt in decades: fear. High Admiral Vorath tried to regain his composure. He was a warrior. He had conquered planets. He would not show fear to these humans who had somehow hidden an entire fleet. "All ships, battle formation," he ordered. "They may have numbers, but they are still primitive. Attack." The Volari fleet surged forward, their weapons charging, their soldiers ready for combat. Vorath believed that human technology was still inferior. He believed that Volari training and experience would overcome this surprise. He was wrong. Commander Shinji Wu led the first attack wave. Her 7th Stealth Squadron had trained for this moment for 20 years. Every pilot knew their role perfectly. Every ship moved like it was part of a single mind. "Squadron, activate Sunfire weapons," she ordered calmly. Across her 200 ships, the weapons designed by Chief Engineer Oh Dong-soo powered up. They glowed with the light of captured stars, energy so bright that Volari sensors could not measure it. Fire. 200 balls of white-hot plasma shot across space toward the Volari fleet. They moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Their shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, melted like ice in a furnace. 50 Volari ships exploded in the first 10 seconds. On the flagship Eternal Dominance, Vorath watched in horror as his forces fell apart. Ships that had conquered 11 planets were being destroyed like toys. "What weapons are these?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said humans had nothing like this." His officers had no answer. Their intelligence had watched Earth for 300 years. They had counted human ships and measured human weapons. But they had only counted the visible ships. They had only measured the visible weapons. They had never looked deeper. Admiral Park Tae-ho commanded the battle from his station on Triton, but his attention kept moving to the Kuiper Belt, where the Shadow Gate waited. "Dr. Yoon Hana, status report." Her voice came through clear and strong. "The Shadow Gate is at 100% power. We are ready for full activation." This was the moment. This was what 3 generations of scientists had worked toward. Park Tae-ho gave the order he had dreamed of giving since he was a young man. "Open the gate." In the darkness at the edge of the solar system, The shadow gate began to spin. Its metal ring rotated faster and faster until it became a blur. Energy gathered at its center, swirling like water going down a drain, but made of pure light. Then space itself tore open. A hole appeared in reality, a window to somewhere else, somewhere far away. Through that window came ships. Human ships. 2,000 more warships that had been hidden in other star systems. Places humanity had reached decades ago. Through prototype versions of this technology, the Valari had thought they were conquering an isolated planet. They were now learning that humanity had already spread to the stars, quietly colonizing worlds that the Galactic Concord never knew existed. Varath's sensor officer could barely speak. "High Admiral, 2,000 more human ships have appeared. They came through some kind of portal. This technology should not exist. The physics are impossible." But the impossible was happening right in front of them. Commander Shinji Wu smiled as she saw the reinforcements arrive. "All squadrons, this is Commander Shin. The shadow gate is open. Push forward. Show no mercy." The Battle of Seoul became a slaughter. Human ships moved with precision that the Valari could not match. Human weapons destroyed everything they touched. The aliens tried to retreat, but human forces cut off their escape routes. They tried to surrender, but their communications were jammed. Chief Engineer Oh Dong-soo watched from his station on Jupiter's moon as his Sunfire weapons proved their worth. Every explosion was proof that his life's work had meaning. Every destroyed Valari ship was revenge for 3 centuries of being looked down upon. "They called our technology primitive," he said quietly. "They said we were children playing with toys. Let them say that now." In 2 hours, the battle was over. Of the 800 Valari ships that had entered the solar system, 600 were destroyed. 200 were captured, their crews taken prisoner. High Admiral Varath himself was captured when human soldiers boarded his flagship. The great conqueror was brought before Captain Handuri, now standing on the bridge of a captured Valari ship. Varath's 4 arms were bound. His black eyes were filled with shock and shame. "How?" Varath demanded. "How did you hide all of this?" Handuri looked at the alien who had threatened to enslave his entire species. "You never really looked at us, did you? You saw what you wanted to see. You saw weak primitives who posed no threat. You never thought to wonder if we might be showing you exactly what we wanted you to see." On Triton, Admiral Park Tae-ho prepared for the next phase. The battle was won, but the message needed to be sent. He nodded to his communications officer. "Open a channel to all species of the Galactic Concord. Maximum broadcast strength." The channel opened. Every planet, every station, every ship in the Galactic Concord received the transmission. A woman appeared on their screens. She was 60 years old, with gray hair and a calm, strong face. Her name was Ambassador Kang Yoonji, and she had waited her entire career for this moment. "Beings of the Galactic Concord," she began. "My name is Kang Yoonji, representing the United Nations of Earth. For 300 years, you have seen us as a minor species, primitive, weak, harmless. Today, you learned the truth." Images appeared on screens across the galaxy, images of the human fleet, images of the Shadowgate, images of the destroyed Valari Armada. "We were never weak. We were patient. We have over 6,000 warships. We have weapons you cannot understand. We have technology you believed was impossible. And we have already spread beyond our solar system to colonies you never knew existed." She paused, letting the information sink in. "The Shadow Gate is open. Humanity is no longer contained to one star. You now have a choice. You can treat us as equals, as partners in building a better galaxy. Or you can continue to see us as prey and discover why we hid our strength for 300 years. Her eyes hardened. The Valari chose to threaten us. The Valari learned the price of that mistake. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, 12 species stared at their screens in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about humanity had been wrong. And now the humans had opened a door to the stars that could not be closed. The galaxy was in chaos. News of humanity's hidden fleet spread like fire through dry grass. Every planet, every space station, every ship in the Galactic Concord played Ambassador Kang Yunji's message again and again. The images of the Shadowgate, the destroyed Valari fleet, and a human armada became the most watched recordings in galactic history. Species that had looked down on Earth for 3 centuries now looked with new eyes. Some looked with fear. Some looked with respect. And some looked with hope. Admiral Park Taiho stood on the bridge of the ESN's Eternal Patience, the flagship of the human fleet. For the first time in 300 years, the ship flew openly through space, its weapons visible, its power undeniable. He was looking at Earth through the main window. The blue planet seemed smaller from this distance, but he knew it was stronger than it had ever been. Commander Shin Ji-woo approached him with a report. Admiral, the Galactic Concord has called an emergency summit. 7 of the 12 species have already requested alliance talks with Earth. The other 4 are asking for peace agreements. And the Valari? Their empire is in chaos. 3 of their conquered planets are already rebelling. Their military leadership is facing arrest for the defeat. They are no longer a threat to anyone. Park Taiho nodded slowly. The species that had threatened to enslave humanity was now falling apart from within. There was a certain justice in that. Dr. Yoon Hana arrived on the bridge, her eyes tired but bright with satisfaction. Admiral, the Shadowgate is stable. We have established permanent connections to 4 of our hidden colonies. Ships can travel freely between star systems now. How many colonies do we have? Park Taiho asked. 12, with populations ranging from 50,000 to 3 million. We have been quietly spreading for 80 years. The galaxy knows about Earth, but they still have no idea how far humanity has already reached. Park Taiho smiled. Even now, after revealing their power, humanity still had secrets. It was simply their nature. On Earth, the reaction was unlike anything in human history. For 300 years, only a select few had known the truth. Now everyone knew. People danced in the streets. They cried tears of joy. They looked up at the sky with new pride. Captain Han Duri, now promoted to Vice Admiral, gave interviews to global news networks. He explained how humanity had maintained the secret for so long: the hidden shipyards, the fake public records, the careful management of what aliens were allowed to see. Every generation passed the secret to the next, he said. Every generation added to our strength. We became masters of patience because we had to be. And now, finally, we can show the universe what we really are. Lieutenant Commander Beak, Somi, she had been promoted after the battle, watched the interview from her new station on the battleship Rising Dawn. She thought about all the messages she had intercepted over the years, all the aliens laughing at human weakness, all the plans to exploit or conquer Earth. Those same aliens were now sending very different messages. Messages of friendship. Messages of respect. Messages that practically begged for alliance. But how quickly things changed when the balance of power shifted. On a space station orbiting Jupiter, Chief Engineer Oh Dong-soo received visitors from 5 different alien species. They all wanted to know about human technology. They all wanted to understand how the Sunfire weapons worked. They all wanted to see the Shadowgate with their own eyes. Oh Dong-soo showed them nothing important. He was polite. He was friendly. But he kept humanity's secrets safe. Some habits were hard to break. Perhaps in time we can share some of our discoveries, he told the visitors. But trust must be earned. You had 300 years to earn our trust and failed. Now it is our turn to decide who deserves to be our friends." The Galactic Concord Summit took place on a neutral station near the center of known space. Ambassador Kang Junji represented Earth. Supported by Admiral Park Taiho and Dr. Yoon Ha, they walked into the assembly hall where 11 alien species waited. The Valari had not been invited, that the beings in that room had never looked at humans as equals. They had seen servants. They had seen resources. They had seen prey. Now they saw something new. They saw power. They saw intelligence. They saw a species that had fooled them completely for 300 years. Ambassador Kang Yunji took her seat at the table, a seat at the same level as everyone else. Not below as human diplomats had been forced to sit before. "Let us begin," she said simply. The discussions lasted for weeks. Humanity made no aggressive demands. They did not seek revenge. They did not try to conquer or control. They simply asked for what they had always deserved: respect, equality, and the freedom to chart their own course among the stars. Most species agreed quickly. They had seen what happened to those who opposed humanity. They did not want to be next. At the end of the summit, a new treaty was signed. Earth was no longer a minor species in the Galactic Concord. It was now a full member with equal voting rights and equal status. The Shadowgate technology would remain humanity's secret, but they agreed to use it for peaceful trade and exploration. Commander Shinji-woo was given a new assignment. She would lead the first official diplomatic mission through the Shadowgate to one of Earth's hidden colonies. It would be the first step toward revealing humanity's true reach to the galaxy. On the day of her departure, she met with Admiral Park Taiho one last time. "Admiral," she said, "what happens now? We spent 300 years hiding. What do we do with our future?" Park Taiho looked out at the stars. The Shadowgate was visible in the distance, glowing with the light of open doorways. "We stop hiding," he said. "But we never stop growing. We never stop preparing. We never forget that the universe respected strength, not kindness. We showed our teeth, and now we are equals. But we must always be ready to show our teeth again." Shinji-woo nodded and boarded her ship. The vessel moved toward the Shadowgate, carrying humans toward distant stars that would soon know the name of Earth. Lieutenant Commander Beek Somi received a new message that evening. It came from a species called the Tyranni, one of the races that had been quietly conquered by the Valari decades ago. The message was short but powerful. "We saw what you did. We saw how you waited. We saw how you won. Can you teach us? We want to rise too." She showed the message to Admiral Park Taiho. He read it twice, then looked up with a thoughtful expression. "We spent 300 years pretending to be less than we were. Perhaps now it is time we teach others how to become more than they seem." The Shadowgate pulsed with light in the darkness of space. Ships passed through it constantly, now human ships carrying human dreams to human colonies that the galaxy was only beginning to learn about. Humanity had emerged from the shadows. They were no longer hiding. They were no longer prey. They were no longer alone. They were finally, truly free, and across the galaxy. Other species watched and learned that the quietest species, the most patient species, the one everyone underestimates, that is often the most dangerous species of all,